to everyone watching and listening around the world, and welcome. My name is Jedi. I'm a sustainability coordinator at IMA International. Today, we are speaking with Dr. Mansoor Ali. Mansoor is a consultant and one of IMA open course facilitators, and has been working in the international development sector for over 37 years. His journey in international development started when he was working as advisor to globally recognized sanitation and health programs, after which he continued working in the sector on a number of development projects in 18 developing countries. Today, we are pleased to be talking to Mansoor in part one of a three-part interview series on capacity building in developing countries. A common expectation for any development program here at IMA. We are always keen to learn more about this topic so we can inspire change and make positive impact through our world. We're excited to learn more from Mansoor's experience about the challenges involved in capacity building and looking forward future opportunities and what can be improved in this area of work. So thank you for this opportunity, Mansoor. It is a pleasure to be speaking with you today.
Thank you. Thank you, Jedi. Thank you. I'm very happy that IM International has selected this topic. It's rather old-fashioned now, but it's very important for all of us. Still, we are doing it in many parts. So I can make a start by first defining what we are talking in this session, especially what term is capacity building is.
Yes.
So capacity building as a term, we are talking about a situation when a well-resourced, developed country or an organization trying to build knowledge, understanding, and skill of a less resource situation, a country or a program. And it can be in any area like health and education, climate change. So it's very much integral part of our development practice. Um, so this is important, and my involvement my practices started in the year 1983, which is roughly 40 years from now,
Yeah.
when I volunteered for a program in slum areas of Karachi, Pakistan. This experience was very immersive for me, and I was involved between 1983 to 1986. But not only that year, actually, when you are involved in a year or some years, you also read books and papers published at least 15,
Yeah.
20 years ago. So my reading understanding goes back to late 60s, early 70s. And I also remember in those days the installation of first Apple computer in my office, in our office, and it was only used for typing, but it was there for many
Mm.
weeks and months, and nobody touched it. Everybody watched it. So
Yeah.
things were very different in those days, and there were no internet or ebooks. So
Was
so
it
thank you very much. Yeah,
Macintosh?
thanks, Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good, yeah, good topic, and I'm looking forward to talk about it. Good, thank you.
Yeah. Um, that's really interesting, Mansell. I personally am very interested in like technologies. I watch um Steve Jobs movie, and then they're talking about like what you just said, the first Apple computer Macintosh, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting me. Yeah. So for our first discussion of this three-part series, we'll be talking about history, evolution, and your initial learning and reading. So Mansoor, you started working in international development in the mid-80s. So can you tell us a bit more about your learning in those days, perhaps touching on history and evolution of capacity building in your practice?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. This is important. And because we would like to keep these interviews short, so let me come to the point
Yeah, definitely.
pretty quickly. So I think there were three main sources of my learning and learning of my own organization in those days, if I summarize it. So first of those sources was learning through documentation. Documentation in technical areas, it may be mapping of the situation, but also it includes to understand the social aspects, how people are working, how they are behaving, how they are reacting. So, so we were continuously doing human profiles, interviews, but also technical mapping of the area. And the organization also very much, it was one of the fundamental pillars of their capacity development, internal capacity development in those days. So I would say mapping and interviews were very important in learning. So that's the first thing. I think the second part of capacity development um, at personal level and also at collective level was reflective sessions. And we were having reflective sessions with seniors, with our teachers on regular basis. In most of the cases, they were one-to-one and based on some notes and discussion. But on certain areas, it was also collective. So where all the staff will come and have a discussion about certain issue. It was structured, it was debates and challenging, not just passive learning or boring presentation. So it was very, very good in terms of reflect learning. And I would call that as the second pillar. So reflective sessions are very, very important. And third is the exposure to new approaches, more risky projects where you sometime you have, you know, what is the pathway, you know, the project may fail, and organization itself expose itself to the risky projects, risky initiatives, challenging initiatives, and also then learn from them. So personally, I was given some tasks which were very challenging, and then my seniors discussed with me what it failed, what was successful, but the organization also always trying new approaches. So capacity building in those days, very much in my context, in based on my experience, based on these three things. One is the documentation, second is the reflective sessions, and third is testing new approaches and try new things, both at personal level at organization level. So you ask about the literature and reading. So
Yeah,
if this point is clear, I can go to the next part of this answer, which is about the my reading in those days.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think as I said, the literature available was for last 20 years. So we go talking about late 60s. Um, one of the movements in those days was about the appropriate technology movement. And then the other very important source and place for me was the British Council Library, which was accessible to everybody. It was very, very good collection and very, very systematic. So one of the examples I would like to quote about the literature in those days is the a collection of pictures and photos called the Tools for Progress, and that was published by Intermediate Technology Development Group, London, but it was available globally, and I was able to access it in Pakistan in those days. Published here, it was 1967. But
Mhm.
it was a very good example of documentation, which were very helpful for us because first is it was easy to understand. There was little English, and there was a clear target attached to it that who will be using it. So that was prepared for basically for rural development and agriculture, but it was a very good example of documentation. So if I conclude this your question, my answer to your question, so there are four key aspects, four takeaways from that initial phase of my learning and life and what I learned about capacity building. First, as I said, is the importance of documentation for capacity building. It's very important. Second is the presence of a respected teacher or a trainer in the vicinity of what you do. So you can access the person and talk, and you need to have a relationship there. Third is learning to listen and reflect back. So I learned, I was carefully listening and how to reflect back and understand. And fourth is the is the importance of the human welfare and improvement of the society in whatever we do. So any development, and that fourth point gives you the energy for what you do. So it sets the purpose, it gives you bigger picture, but it gives you motivation to do something positive and constructive. So I think these are the four takeaways from the initial career. Thank you very much, Jedi. I stop here.
Thank you, Mansoor. That's really inspiring. Of course, there's documentation. Even nowadays, we still using documentation, so it's of course it's very important and very interesting, and it touches in a lot of different ways. So, well, thank you very much, Mansoor, for speaking with me today. I have really enjoyed hearing your thought on capacity building in history and evolution. For everyone, if you enjoy watching this part two and three of this interview series, will be available for you so you can hear more from Mansoor. So thank you, Mansoor, for having us. Have a lovely day, and it was lovely to speak with you today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.